Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining me. It's Friday, which means we have start sits coming at you. We're going to cover my updated tiers as well. So we're going to go over quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, kickers, and defenses as well to give you guys all of the newest knowledge and information you're going to need to crush your opponents as we head into the fantasy championship game. I want to make sure you're fully prepared, so please reach out to me here. Drop some questions down below. I'm available on Sleeper as well. Whatever works for you, I want to be able to help you out. And we know a ton of things are changing quickly with all of the COVID nonsense that is going on. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe. The support means everything to me and it helps me out so much. We just got to 100 subscribers. We're shooting for 2, so let's keep it up, ladies and gentlemen. With that all said, done, and out of the way, I have 15 player situations to go over. We're going to talk about how it impacts them and possibly the players behind them so you know which starters you need to plug in. With that done, let's get into Week 16's Start Sit. We are going to start at quarterback, and in Chicago, we're worrying about Justin Fields. It looks like both him and Andy Dalton are officially out for Sunday afternoon's tilt with the Seattle Seahawks. That means that Nick Foles is his time in Chicago. I am slightly downgrading David Montgomery due to this news, as the Bears offense, which has already been struggling most of the year, might struggle even more as a whole. Next up, we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson and in return, Tyler Huntley. Now, Jackson is officially questionable. He's not been ruled out yet, but it looks like he is expected to sit and miss out. So Baltimore is going to turn once again to Tyler Huntley to keep them in the playoff chase in a pivotal road matchup against Cincinnati. Huntley has been solid so far in relief of Jackson. He carved up the Packers last week, scoring 4 total touchdowns, 2 of those on the ground. He lands just outside of my QB1s on the week, and he is in the top of my 4th tier. We travel to Detroit next. It's about Jared Goff. He was placed on the COVID list and is not expected to play this week. He was an option in a great matchup against the Falcons, but his replacement will not be. If you are at this stage and looking for an option, you need to find a streamer elsewhere. Next up is Taysom Hill from New Orleans, and he was added to the reserve COVID list on Thursday. He is not going to be able to suit up. With Trevor Siemian in that same situation, it looks like rookie Ian Book out of Notre Dame is set to make his first start for New Orleans, making the Miami defense a top 5 start this week. With 4 of our top 20 options now off of the table, we need to make sure that we have a starter available and ready. Taylor Heineke would be a decent emergency option, and he should be available in most leagues. Let's get to my updated tiers, and in tier 1, I am looking at my number 1 quarterback of the week, Justin Herbert, traveling to Houston. It is all systems go for the Chargers right now, and with a banged up Austin Eckler, Herbert could be forced to go to the air even more than usual. He is going to continue his torrid pace. In the second tier, at 10, I have Tom Brady. He travels to Carolina, and I understand the hesitancy in starting Brady after last week's performance. We can't help it, but I am keeping the faith here, and I think he bounces back even with a banged up group of pass catchers. Dak Prescott is my focus in tier 3. He has a home matchup with the Washington football team. Prescott has been off and on lately, to say the least, but with a solid matchup on deck and a top seed at stake in Dallas, he's going to lead the Cowboys to another win with a big performance. Filling in for Lamar Jackson, and at the top of my 4th tier, Tyler Huntley travels to Cincinnati, and he has shown capability filling in for Jackson and will be needed to come up big in Baltimore's most important game of the season. Expect a solid game here from him as he leans on Mark Andrews and to a lesser extent, Hollywood Brown. In tier 5, it is Carson Wentz traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. With Arizona sputtering as of late, there is an opportunity here for the Colts to seize the moment and steal a win from the Cards. It cannot be all Jonathan Taylor in this game, and Wentz will have decent production. There are a ton of really difficult running back situations this week to navigate, so let's hop right into it. It starts in Minnesota with my Vikings. We'll talk about Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison. Now, Cook is out for the next 10 days, period. He's going to miss the Vikings' pivotal game against the Rams. Mattison slides in, and he is an elite option as usual. He slides right into the middle of my second tier, and I absolutely love him, even in a difficult matchup. Not such great news in Washington. We're going to talk about Antonio Gibson. It looks like Gibby is dealing with a new toe injury. We know he's been dealing with that shin fracture all season. He did not practice on Thursday. He is questionable leading into Monday night's game against Dallas. So if you decide to wait, you need to ensure that you have Jarrett Patterson on your roster as insurance. He is nothing more than a decent flex option though. So if you can make other plans and play other players instead, I would do it. Potentially devastating news for owners in Los Angeles. It's Austin Ekeler, who was placed on the reserve COVID list on Wednesday. His status is in doubt for Sunday morning's game against Houston on the road. This is an absolutely awesome matchup, and if he cannot go, Justin Jackson would slide in. He just had a monster game against Kansas City last week. He would be a great start if Ekeler does miss. If he's the guy, I have him as the last player in my second tier. We do not know Ekeler is out for sure, but we need to have players in reserve just in case. I am keeping Ekeler ranked for now, but just be aware of his situation check early before kickoff. Into New England's situation of the Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris split. Stevenson was placed on the reserve COVID list. He is officially out Sunday. He will not play against the Bills. Harris was able to put in a limited session all week. He should be good to go. He is a flex option in a tough matchup with the Bills, and he shoots up to my fourth tier with Stevenson out. Finally, some positive news. It's in Philadelphia with Miles Sanders. He did not practice either Thursday or Friday with that quad injury, but he has been cleared to play. In what capacity is the real question here, but he does not carry an injury designation going into Philly's Week 16 game against the Giants. He jumps up to the bottom of my third tier because of it. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and Craig Reynolds are the story in Detroit, and this situation is once again just a mess for owners to deal with. Swift was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, and he certainly could play, but would likely be limited with his workload. Jamal Williams has been cleared from the COVID list, so he's back, and Craig Reynolds just had 100 yards against the Cardinals, so it's anyone's guess how these touches are actually going to be handed out. If it is me, I am avoiding these guys as the risk is massive, even in an incredible matchup. Now, DeAndre Swift slides into the middle of my fifth tier simply due to the fact that we know that he has a massive upside if he gets a decent amount of touches. However, be sure to understand that he could certainly face plant as well. We head to the desert, and it's James Conner and Chase Edmonds, and Conner says that he's going to play, that his situation is all about pain management at this point, so that is good news for owners. He stated that his ankle was not the issue for him, it is his heel that he's been dealing with, and with a Saturday game on deck, you're going to know with plenty of time in advance what your lineup needs to look like. In tier number 1, Najee Harris is my guy. He's my 5th ranked running back on the week. He travels to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. And after the Kansas City Chiefs got absolutely destroyed on the ground last week against the Chargers, I expect a massive workload for Harris, who's going to score at least once and rack up 100+ yards of total offense. Into tier 2, we talked a little bit about him, but Alexander Mattison has that home matchup against the Rams, and the elite cuff gets another chance to show his stuff against top competition. It will be difficult, but his volume here is going to be huge, and that will lead him to top numbers on the week. At the bottom of tier number 3, I'm focusing in on Miles Sanders, who has a home matchup with the Giants. And without an injury designation going in, there should be a large workload waiting for Sanders in an awesome matchup, and I believe that he has the tools and the capability to take advantage. To the top of my 4th tier, I'm looking at Melvin Gordon. He gets the Las Vegas Raiders, and splitting time hasn't hurt Gordon a whole lot all year, and with a smash matchup against the Raiders, it certainly won't here either. At the bottom of my 5th ranked tier, I'm looking at Myles Gaskin, who travels to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And after what the Saints did to the Bucs, there just does not look like a ton of upside in what could be a very defensive, low-scoring affair. There are three key player situations to talk about at the wide receiver position. We start in Houston with Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. Now, Cooks was placed on the reserve COVID list on Wednesday. His status is in doubt for the early game against the Chargers on Sunday. Nico Collins would definitely see more targets, but this was not a great matchup to begin with, so he is nothing more than a risky flex if Cooks is out. Cooks for now drops to my fourth tier, but we do not know that he is out fully just yet. To Kansas City we go, and it's Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. Hill tested positive for COVID and was placed on the list on Tuesday, but he does have a chance to play in Sunday's afternoon second slate of games. I'm going to keep him ranked for now, but you need to have a backup plan in place now in case he cannot go. We know Mecole Hardman would slide in and see an uptick in usage and try to play a similar role to what Hill does, so snag him if he is available. Michael Gallup could be a desperation option if you do not have anyone else and you decide to wait and see on Hill. The last player we're discussing is DJ Moore. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, but got in a limited session on Friday with that hamstring injury. He should play, but he has been downgraded just a little bit. Into my updated tiers, and the number one spot is my little Cooper Kupp. He travels to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Kupp continues his march towards Calvin Johnson's record and will take another big step towards it with a huge game against Minnesota. The top of my second tier and my fifth ranked wide receiver is Justin Jefferson in the same game against those Rams. Now, Jefferson is going to do his best to match Kupp on the other side of the field, but Jalen Ramsey is going to have plenty to say about that. I am so excited to see what these two do as they face off. Hunter Renfrow sits at the bottom of my third tier. He's my 15th ranked wide receiver facing off at home against Denver. Once again, it's likely that Darren Waller misses and Renfrow will not bite us twice, seeing plenty of work underneath against the Broncos. To the top of my fourth tier, Michael Pittman Jr. sits. He travels to Arizona, and Pittman will be needed in this one, and after a complete dud and a Jackson last week, he gets right here. Marquise Brown is my last wide receiver to ranked for week 16. He is at the top of tier number 5, and he plays against Cincinnati on the road. Brown likely doesn't reach his ceiling here, but his floor should be solid in what figures to be a high-scoring affair against the Bengals. A couple tight ends of note. We start in Vegas with Darren Waller, who missed practice all week once again with that knee injury, and he is almost certain to miss another week, so plan to be without him if you are an owner. To Kansas City again, it's Travis Kelce, who tested positive for COVID and was placed on the reserve list on Monday. There is a chance that he suits up, but there is risk because the Chiefs play in that second slate of games, so you need to have a different option. If you wait, Foster Moreau would be a good stash to have just in case, and he remains ranked, but Kelce drops just a bit. Sitting atop my tight end tier 1, it is Mark Andrews traveling to Cincinnati. And Andrews could put up video game numbers as Tyler Huntley's favorite target. He's got upside here for days. Into tier 2, it's all about Dawson Knox, my 6th ranked tight end on the week, traveling to New England. And I hate the matchup here, but with other options few and far between for Josh Allen, Knox is certainly going to be busy. Zach Ertz is my 7th ranked tight end. He sits atop at tier 3 with a home matchup against the Colts. Ertz could be relied upon a bit more with James Conner being banged up. He is going to be the most reliable safety blanket that Kyle Murray is going to have. At the bottom of my 4th tier and the last tight end I have ranked sits Jared Cook traveling to Houston. And Cook probably needs to score to return value, but that is always a possibility with Houston on deck. As we move into my defenses, I want to highlight the Miami Dolphins, who travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. With news that Ian Book will be starting for the Saints, the Dolphins skyrocket to a top 5 play. Their front 7 should be able to cause fits for the rookie, and with their shutdown corners playing as such as of late, I expect a monster day from this defense. To the kickers, and with news that Harrison Butker is out, it's Justin Tucker at number 1 traveling to Cincinnati. Now, even if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, and that looks likely, Tyler Huntley has flashed in his last 2 games at the controls of this offense, so there will be plenty of opportunities. And that will do it for me in week 16. Thank you guys so much for taking some time to join me for it. I hope that I was able to help you out. Please, please, please reach out down below. I'm available on Sleeper as well. I want to be able to help you in this critical Week 16 matchup. A very Merry Christmas to you all. I wish you all the best during these holidays. I hope it's filled with family fun and, of course, football. If you guys are new to the channel, if you haven't gotten to it yet for whatever reason, please consider liking and subscribing. It means the world to me and helps me out so very much on my journey to 200 subscribers. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abriam Opats, and we'll see you next time.